Hello and welcome back. In this portion of our demonstration videos, we'll be starting with the ground floor portion of the building and that portion of the assignment as well. So as mentioned in the previous section, we want to make sure that all of your drawing station elements are put together and that you're set to go. In preparation for that, you may want to consider the tools. I will be using my adjustable triangle. This is one that I'm used to and it works well for me. But you may want to use the triangles that are provided in the board kit or in the drawing list or materials list that you've acquired for the course. So either 45-degree or 30-60 triangles are acceptable, either one. Just remember that this one, the angles are different and you don't get confused with that. An additional note is that you may want to use a larger triangle for making longer drawing lines. I'm going to be, since I'm doing a rough out in this and a block out in this demonstration, I'll just be using a smaller triangle and it works just fine because I'm going to do all my problem solving with that. When I go to do a final drawing, I may use a larger triangle just simply because it'll give me a better quality of line. So having said that, last item is, remember we are working with an architectural scale. This is the 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch scale. And just a quick note, if you happen to have a white scale, I'd like to sometimes come in and put in colors in there so that I can recognize which scale I'm on. Visually, I'll always know that my 1/8 inch scale is always on this colored line, so that's helpful for me. Additionally, I just use one of these little paper clamps here that works nice for keeping it easy to pick up and always on the right scale reference. I'm not flipping it around trying to figure out which one I'm supposed to be working on. So that's helpful for me and it just saves a little frustration down the road. All right, so things have been set up. I've gone ahead and put my 11 by 17 sheet of vellum, oriented it in a portrait fashion. That means vertically oriented, just as we mentioned previously. And I have a reference plan of the work that we're going to be doing. So now, just as a quick review again, and making sure that you understand, we are taking a small plan and we're creating a large plan from it. And so that means we're going to measure at this smaller scale, and then we're going to draw it at a larger scale. So that's our concept. That's what we're working on. So just understand that the drawing is going to get much bigger. It's going to get actually 4 times larger. So when we double the scale from 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch, we are going twice as large from here to here and twice as large from here to here, from left to right. And so that means we're actually growing. This thing will be 4 times the size of this smaller drawing when we get done. You should think about that a little bit. It won't, so when you place it on the drawing, that it is kind of centered. You don't want to be crowding it one side or the other because you're going to run out of room and you're going to be upset with that. So since this is a block out, we're simply going to place it somewhere in the middle and we should be okay. So we'll set that aside. Okay, so a couple things that we need to talk about here real quick. If you look at the plan, and you should print it out and look close at it because there's some stuff going on here. There's a lot of different elements, and we'll just walk through it real quick on the plan here. We're calling this orientation the entrance side, okay? So there's a washroom right here, toilet room, bathroom, whatever you want to call it, on the left side. A small kitchen area here. This is a very small building, very small plan. Kind of a dining, open living area here. A set of stairs right here. A small closet right here. A fireplace with a hearth, and there'll be a flush mantle overhead. Some shelving, and then a seat. We have a solarium over here We have an entrance porch on this side, and at the opposite side we have another porch. So those are the elements that we're working with on the ground floor. When we do the second floor, it's much simpler, but let's continue on. One of the things that you'll notice if you look very closely here is that the exterior walls, those which are on the outside of the building, are a little bit fatter. And so in this plan, the exterior walls will be 6 inches at a 1/4 inch scale. Will be 6 inches thick at a 1/4 inch scale. So you might want to write that up here just to remind yourself. Exterior walls, 6 inches. Okay, so there we go. So we've written that down. But now as we go inside, you'll notice that the interior walls are a little thinner. They're only 4 inches thick. So interior walls are 4 inches. And that's at this 1/4 inch. Actually, it'll be at all scale. So when we're measuring it with the 1/8 inch, it's kind of small, but you should observe that they are 4 inches on the inside, 6 inches on the outside. And that should be pretty much the case all the way through. So these interior walls will be thinner than the exterior ones. Okay. Additionally, you'll notice that the plan has stairs going up to the porch, has some posts that are provided at a variety of locations to hold things up. In the case of the porch, it's a little porch roof that is covering the porch to keep it away from the elements. Same thing at the other end. So you'll see a little square. That's the post in a plan view. Additionally, there's some interior posts here and here. So make note of that. That means there's something happening up above that we need to be aware of. And indeed, we'll see that as we go to the second floor. There's a variety of other things here. We have a bathtub, we have a water closet, we have a lav sink. As we get to the kitchen, we have a kitchen sink. The dash lines are representing overhead cabinets. The dash line in this box form is a dishwasher below the cabinet. Over on this side, we have a range, a cooking range, a small set of cabinets with overheads above them, and a refrigerator. Okay, so that's what's in the kitchen. As we move around the elements here, interiorly, we have this fireplace, and as I mentioned, we have shelving here. We have the firebox here, and there'll be a chimney overhead that we'll see in the second floor, but not on this plan. And then the stairs going up, they get to a landing, a flat spot, they turn around and they continue up. And here we see a brake line, which we talked about a week or so ago. So we'll talk about all that as we get a little bit closer to it. But I wanted you to know what the parts and pieces are that you are working with. And then finally, this element out here, this is like a solarium. It's like a big bay window, and it's a little bit larger than just a bay, so we're calling it a solarium. And it's a window seat. And so this line here represents a built-in seating frame out for placing cushions on. It's like a built-in couch that becomes a built-in window seat. So that's what we've got there. Again, very small plan. Now, also on the plan, you'll see the titles, and then you'll see a north arrow. Again, very simplistic. And then you'll see a scale. Please don't replicate this scale and copy it because it will be incorrect. We're going to work with this 1/8 inch scale, but we're not going to copy this reference. If we look over here at the finished piece, that says 1/4 inch. That's what we want to do there. All right, so a couple other quick notes. We've decided that the exterior walls are 6, interior walls are 4 inches thick. The other things that we want to do is we want to start with the idea that it's a good starting place to find the size of the object in its general sense. The idea of how big is the box. So to do that, we're going to scale that. Now I'm going to make one quick note here. I'm going to give you some numbers here. You can use my numbers if you want. I would suggest finding out very specifically when you print out your example plan what those scales are and work with them to make sure that you have a consistency. One of the things you should understand is that not all copies are the same. If you run this through a printer, you may get a slightly different size box or size of the object than I've got here. If you make a copy of it on a copier machine, that may stretch the copy and you may be a little bit different there. Just be consistent. Whatever you choose, you choose. And I'm simply going to give you my information, and then you can comparably use that as a reference moving forward. All right, so based on that, we like to get the box enclosure, and we measure from the outside. And so by measuring from the outer sides of the walls, we're getting the extent of the box, the total total size of the object. So as I measure this, I put the 0 on the wall, I come across, and it doesn't hit exactly on one of the little hash marks. So it's a little off. It's not a nice whole number. So I slide the scale to the smaller side so that it finds the next smaller number, and then I observe that there are little tick marks here, which are inches in left over. So as I measure this, I go 0 to 20, 21, 22, so it's 22 feet, and it's 2, 4, 6, 8 inches. So I'm making a note on this drawing that it's 22 foot 8 inches in width. That means it's that width is the same, that width is the same, that width is the same. Please make a note of it and measure and mark yours. We're going to do the same thing in the other direction so we know what our box size is. So as I look at it, it looks like I'm a little larger than 27. So I'm going to slide the scale back to the 27 mark and then measure to the left side of the 0, and I got 2, 4, 6. So I'm measuring that again at 27 foot 6 inches. 27 foot 6 inches. Now, I mark that on there so that I always remember what it is. And it's not a bad idea to keep this drawing around as we go forward. In case you forget, you'll have it marked on a sheet. Okay, so in this drawing, we're only going to do, in this particular exercise, we're only going to do the ground floor. We'll come to the second floor in the next installment, but this one, we're going to draw this one up real quick. Now that we know the size of the box, we can draw the size of the box. So let's just do that real quick. Now, as I mentioned, we want to be measuring off, for the drawing side, off the 1/4 inch, not the 1/8 inch, the 1/4 inch. So if I start and I want to kind of be in the middle and I'm looking, and 24, 25, 26, 27 goes to there. So I'm going to make a mark here and a mark here. I'm not done. I'm going to add in, oops, I'm doing the width. I'm sorry. I got that back. 22, not 27. 22. So start over here again. 0, go to 20, 21, 22, and then I'm going to add in 8 inches. So I'm going to got my 22 measured, and I'm going to go 8 inches, and it's right there. Okay. So I'm just going to put a vertical line at each point, at the beginning point and at the end point. Remember, these are the outside lines of the wall, not the insides. We'll talk about inside stuff in just a bit. All right, our object is no wider than that. So that means we're not wandering around the sheet. It is only where all our drawing is going to be majority right in between those two lines. Now let's get the other direction. We said it's 27.6. So now I'm going to measure 27.6 in this direction to get the box size. So again, remember, we're working with 1/4 inch. So we go 6 inches, I go 27, so I start at 0, go all the way down to 20, let me make sure you hold my spot, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, so I'm marking that. And then I'm going to come back up on this side and go 6 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on the 1/4 inch side, it's 1 inch modules, so 1 inch increments, because it's a little larger. So because that space is bigger, we can put more divisions in it. So every little tick mark on the other side of the 0 is 1 inch. When we did the 1/8 inch, it was every 2 inches, just because the space is so small. We just can't accurately get a good picture of that. So now I've marked that. I'm coming down here. And I'm going to come up to the top here. Okay. So the box is this big. This is the total size of the building enclosure. Now, are there some things on here that are going to come back? Yeah. We've got the porches and we've got the solarium. We've got a little greenhouse window here. Those are all going to pop out. But the main box, that's the main box. And it's right here. Okay, so now that we have that, how thick are the exterior walls? You should be saying 6 inches. So I'm going to come back over to my scale, looking at the 1/4 inch again, and I'm going to give myself the 6 inch all the way around on the inside. Now, don't mark it on the inside. It's on the inside of the box, because we measured to the outside. Everything is going to be inside this box. So mark from 0. Go over 6 tick marks, do it at that side. I'll go ahead and do the top one too, so we keep things moving along quickly. So we do it there. We do it down here. Okay. So, again, I could be a little looser. I want to be pretty darn accurate, but when I say my lines can be a little bit loose, that's okay, because it's a mock-up or a block out. And when I do that, that means I still have a lot of things to solve in terms of how the plan is going to come out. And I'm not worried about the final line weights or anything. I can pick those up a bit later when I do the final. Okay. All right. So that's the box. I've done it light. You can see it. Hopefully you can see it. I'll see if I can lower some of the light on this side there. There we go. Okay. So now you can see the light, the box a little bit better. All right, so that's the envelope. That's the shell of the building. Now we got to put all this stuff in the middle. Now, as we do this, I want you to observe some things. Look at the plan. Look at the plan close. You're going to see some dashed lines, and those are lining up with things. There's an alignment occurring. So let's start with the idea that as I look at the interior walls, I'm finding an alignment of this wall to the back of the fireplace wall at the stair. Those line up. If I draw this line, I can continue it all the way across there and not measure and draw it twice. So try to find those savings in time. Next, this wall wants to line up with this one. And if you're not certain, put your triangle on them. There they go. You can see them. They line up. So wherever possible, try to find those alignments. So we know this line, if I draw this line and continue it up, I've got that point there. Okay, is there anywhere else? Well, it looks like the end of the kitchen over here aligns with this post. And this post aligns with this post. And all of this aligns with the door jamb here and the door jamb here. So the doors align. That means you shouldn't be measuring a lot. If you get this one drawn correctly, you should be able to project that line up and find that opening. So that's some quick cues that'll get us along there. Now, some other things that we'll notice about the plan, and as I draw them, you'll see me moving along, and I'll discuss them in a little bit more detail. That is that these are windows that need to be provided. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows. This is like a greenhouse window over the sink. In the kitchen. So that's also a window. I'm not counting it as a conventional one. I got 2 exterior doors, and then I got this solarium assembly. So again, these are the things I need to be measuring and marking as I'm doing them. So now I'm going to start with those big alignment walls that we talked about. And for my purposes, I'm going to start in this corner. It seems to be about the most consistent form in any of these, and it seems like I should be able to measure it pretty easily. So using my 1/8 inch scale, I'm going to look at it, and for this, since I'm drawing interior walls now, I'm going to try to use some interior dimensions. That means that I'm going to try to align my interior of this wall with the interior of this wall, and it should just make it a little bit simpler. Got to be a little careful. You got to make sure that you don't start flipping and flopping and getting the outside and the inside mixed up. Just be consistent. So I'm going to try to use interior as much as I can. And if I can't, then I'll flip out to the outside. But let's try to think about interior. So I'm looking at this, and I'm just looking at it. It looks like it's pretty darn close to an even number, and we're going to say that it is. So for this exercise, as I look at the width of this bathroom, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet even on the inside. So I'm just going to mark this with the other side, 7 foot. I'm just going to make a mark, and I know that the thickness of the wall is 4, so I'm going to come in and pick up the 4, extra width there. Now, as I draw this line, I'm just going to extend it almost all the way up. I'm going to stop it up here. I'll find the place to stop it in a minute, because that lines up with that. And so I'm just going to continue that wall up. Now, as I mentioned, this line also aligns with that one, so let's find that. Again, measuring inside, I'm going to look at that, and it looks like it's pretty close to 6 foot to 6 foot. Yeah, I'm going to say 6 foot 2. So as I measure, come back over to the 1/4 inch side. On the inside, again, 6 foot and 2 inches, which goes to there. Again, inside. And I'm going to extend that across. Again, light lines are probably better. So if you do find that something is amiss, you can erase it and not have it be a confusing line. We want this wall thickness, since it's inside, to be 4 inches. So I've made the mark, measured it, and I'm projecting it across. So I've now found this room in its general placement, and I found this wall and this wall with it because of the alignment. Doesn't always happen like that, but when it does, take advantage of it. All right, so let's move up. Now that I have this, I'm not going to fill. I'm going to come back and do the detail work inside in just a bit. What I want to do now is I want to be thoughtful about progressing across the plan in a simplified way and getting the major elements located before I actually draw them in too much detail. So this didn't take very long. It just took me a couple measurements, and I got this portion pretty well set up. For this exercise now, I'm going to start taking more dimensions. So it's good to do them now maybe in a series of those dimensions. So maybe it's okay to mark on the plan. I think we said that the inside here was 7 foot 0 inches, and the 6 in this direction we were 6 foot 2. So I'm making a note, 6 foot 2 and 7 foot 0. Now I'm going to do the same thing with trying to figure out where this wall begins and where it ends. So I'm going to measure it inside again. So I'm flipping it inside the kitchen wall, and it looks to me like it goes pretty much 10 feet even, pretty darn close on my scale. So that's what I'm going to mark it. Using my scale, go over here, marking it at 10. Now, if you look at here, you see the dashed lines. It's going to pick up this those posts out here, this post out here. So I'm going to be thoughtful of that. I have measured the inside. Now I'm going to go that extra 4 inches outside to get that that placement of that wing wall. This wing wall right here. Okay, so we know that that's 4 inches. So I'm doing the 4-inch right there, marking it. I'm going to extend it out just a bit, clean up the corner. I know it doesn't extend out that far. Now, I know the box of the kitchen I'll clean up where the openings are in just a minute. Let's walk over to the stair and see if we can figure that guy out and get this area defined a little better. One of the things we're going to notice is that the entrance door has a relationship to these dashed lines. It basically lines up with the jamb, and we'll see how that works in just a minute. One of the things we're going to do then is we're going to measure from the corner, the very corner of the outside, it's outside of the building, so we're going to use the outside wall, to where the door opening is. Not the little white piece of door jamb, but actually where the door opening is. So let's use that as a reference. So as I measure that, again, I'm going to have from the outside, I've got pretty darn close. I'm going to say 8 foot 2 inches. So 8 foot 2 inches from the corner. There's that, and there's my 8, and that's where that's occurring. Now, as I measure the door wants to be, oops, get the right scale. The door wants to be a 3 foot 0 inch door. So it's a 3 foot door. I think the interior, well, there's not very many. Some of the doors are a little bit small, but this is kind of a funny little plan, so it's okay. But the outside door, 3 foot, we're going to mark that on this side also. All right, so that's where that door is. That's where that opening is going to be. So I'll kind of erase a little bit around it so that I remember what it is. Now, if you look closely, you'll notice that just inside the jamb is where the first dashed line starts, just past the thickness of the door frame. Frame and a jamb are common terms. So that is about 2 inches in, and so I've extended this over the opening. I've made a mark over an additional 2 inches, and now I'm going to extend that line up in a very light way, and that represents this interior line. Now there's another set of lines on the outside, and we're going to find that by using the rule that all interior structures and walls are going to be 4 inches. So that means that that one wall is going to be, or that one offset for those dash lines are going to be 4 inches off. I'm going to make that just a little bit more pronounced. Okay, so now what I have is, and I can put some dash lines there and dash lines there. Okay, now, so now I know where this element is, and where this piece starts. All right, so we're going to just have to kind of grind out some measurements here, but we're keeping it light for the time being. So we've got the bathroom, we've got the kitchen outlined, we've got the post located up here, we've got the post located up here, we've got the door we just put in. We forgot to make a note that this door aligns with this door. So using the parallel and the T-square, we're just going to project up lightly again, and that's going to locate that door opening. So, all right. So now we have door opening, bath, kitchen, and we got to work on the stair here.